Welcome back to episode 2 of It's Not About the Bike. If you haven't seen episode 1, go back, watch that, subscribe to GCN Tech, and then come back here and we can carry on. In this episode, I'm going to be making a plan for how I'm going to actually upgrade this budget bike, and I'm going to go about gathering all of the parts that I need to do so. Right, let's hit it. Now then, projects like this are actually super relatable because as good as it is seeing uber fancy, expensive bikes everywhere on GCN Tech, and I mean I for one have the luxury of riding them all the time, which is great fun, it's projects like this where I feel like my passion for cycling and bike tech really started out. And I for one certainly don't have an endless budget to keep buying super bling new bikes. So stuff like this really fits the bill. Now then, trying to achieve similar performance to a top spec bike is gonna be tough, let alone trying to keep it within budget. But I don't think it's out of the question. But something I was wondering was how on earth am I actually gonna go about testing and comparing my budget bike build to a top spec performance one? Well, the only true way of going about doing that would be to go visit the wind tunnel, take the bike and me and test everything out. But spoiler alert, that doesn't actually fit into the budget. But later on in the year, Ollie and I am gonna try to do that. So if you don't wanna miss out, if we do get the chance to do that, subscribe to GCN Tech. So the parts which I plan to change on this bike, I'm gonna do so based off of aerodynamic testing, industry research, my own 20 years worth of cycling experience, and the experiments that we've done here at GCN Tech. Now, something that's easy to compare between different levels and specs of bikes is the bike weight. And for those of you who guessed on episode 1, the weight of this bike is, drumroll please, 10.03 kilograms. But it's soon gonna be shredding time. And as I've said before, weight isn't everything when it comes to your bike. Now, in terms of riding the bike, I am going to head out at the end of this series and ride on some of the local roads that I normally do so. And that's going to give me the opportunity to see how the bike feels to ride, and I can sort of get a comparison of how the budget bike build stacks up against some of the top spec bikes which I've been able to ride. And if all goes to plan and I do a good job, which I hope I do, I am going to go take this bike to the racetrack and race it at a local circuit, similar to kind of what we did last year with our budget bikes where myself, Si and Mark went and raced. I actually did okay last year, so fingers crossed, with the upgrades that I made to this budget bike, I could be ripping it up with the guys on their really expensive bikes. Now, if you want to see me do that, best thing to do, comment in the comments section down below, and of course, give this video a thumbs up and tell everyone how much you want to see me do it.
Yes, please, Alex.
So what is it I'm actually going to be upgrading on this bike? Well, the first and most important aspect I think to consider is the handlebar and stem. This is not only because it affects your handling and control of the bike, but also your position on the bike, which I feel is arguably one of the most important aspects in order to try and help speed you up. Because when you're riding at speed, it's your aerodynamic drag of your body which is acting to slow you down the most, unless of course you're cycling up a ginormous big hill. And when it comes to upgrading this and making improvements, the basic principle for speed is to make the front end of the bike narrow and low. So in order to go about doing that, I'm going to replace the aluminium stem and handlebars. So I jumped online, looked around and found a handlebar for just £30 with instant delivery. Such as this. We'll get that unboxed in a minute. Now, when it comes to the stem, I found this, which I've had left over for almost 9 years, right? So this is off of one of my race bikes from all of that time ago, and it's just been sat there gathering dust. But now is its time to shine. I've used aluminium parts because there's loads of really good bargains to be had online, and if you're shopping around for second-hand stuff, aluminium parts even cheaper, and you've got that little bit of added safety that there's less likely to be any damage than what you'd have with carbon fibre. Right, when it comes to upgrading your wheels and tyres, I feel these come in a secondary position to upgrading your body position. And I'm actually going to reuse the wheels and tyres from a previous build series. So the carbon fibre wheels and the tubular tyres that I used for my super light hill climb bike last year are going to go straight onto this bike, but fear not. I'm not actually cheating because I'm going to take the money that I spent on those wheels off of the budget for this build. which is going to be £300, which is ever so slightly less than what I paid for them last year. But hey, they're like a year older now. They've been used even more. So I feel like that's quite fair. Now, as I said, these are a tubular wheel and a tubular tyre, which is not really great for your general riding, just in case you get a puncture. But tubular tyres offer low rolling resistance, low weight, and because rim brake and tubular is kind of like a slightly old technology now, there's some really good bargains to be had online. Now I don't have those wheels anymore, but I'm going to fix that in a minute. Combined with my upgraded position from my handlebar and stem, I'm also going to need some aero kit. I mean, sure, my GCN shorts and jersey are pretty snug fitting, but there's plenty of gains to be had by using a one-piece skin suit. And to do that, I'm going to need to use some of my old race kit, providing that I still actually fit into it. Now, yes, modern kit is going to be marginally faster, but that certainly isn't going to fit into the budget. So to get my previous wheels and tyres and some race kit, I'm going to need to jump in the car and go see my old mate, Liam Scuba Edge. Liam is a young guy that joins the sort of cycling group that I go out in all the time. And being young, he's still at school, and in his spare time, he works in order to generate the money to fund his cycling and keep his bike on the road. Now, a few months back, I gave Liam a giant suitcase full of all of my old race kit so that he could either use it or sell it to generate some extra money. But the thing is, I'm now driving to his house to ask for the wheels back, which I let him, and I also now want a skin suit back off him. But a deal's a deal.
Wheels, skin suit. Cheers, Liam. Right, no worries. Enjoy. We're out of here. See ya.
Okay, so I've got my skin suit. I've got my wheels and tyres from Liam Scuba Edge, which means I've actually got a fair few of the main bits for the upgrade of this bike, but there is still more to upgrade. At the moment, the budget sits at £530, I believe. I might be slightly wrong, but anyway, in terms of more upgrades and other ways to try and save weight on this bike, one of the first things I want to do is ditch this heavy old school triple chain set and old school bottom bracket, which is actually going to be relatively easy to do. I'm going to need a new bottom bracket, which I've already got from Amazon. Check this bad boy out, right? Little threaded number, £18. Look at this thing. It looks incredible. Absolutely no idea on the longevity of the bearings or whether it's even going to fit, but we'll deal with that when we get there. Plus, if it doesn't last very long, it's got a metal shell, so I can just pop out these bearings and put some good ones in there. Anyway, in terms of a crank, I'm going to need to get that from underneath the workbench out of my lucky dip box. So I'm going to do that now. Right, let's get this box up here. We got tyres, more inner tubes, a chain ring. This is actually a big 63 tooth bad boy, which was left over from my track bike I did at the start of the year. Rubber bands. We've got a brand new disc brake rotor. Not going to need that for our rim brake bike. Believe it or not, some people are going to believe me, some people won't. This actually is a crank that I do honestly just have lying around in my garage. Yes, it's a little bit overkill. No, it's a lot overkill. It's a Dura-Ace 9100 crank, and what I'm going to do is the same as what I did for the wheels. So I'm going to look online, see what's like a reasonable price for this second-hand used. It's a little bit scuffed up, and then I'm going to deduct it off of my overall budget. It's got pink wax on the chain rings because for some stupid reason I tried waxing a chain a pink colour once. There's no need to talk about that. Now, there are still more parts to upgrade because in addition to upgrading the wheels, the tyres, the handlebar, the bottom bracket, the crank, I'm also going to be putting my own pedals and my own saddle onto the bike, which I've got here. Now, some people are going to hate on me a little bit for this and say it's cheating, but I'm not going to count pedals and saddle out of my budget because, hear me out, right? Most people have saddle and pedals off of their existing bike, just the same as what you would do with your helmet and your shoes. So I don't feel like it's fair to count that. Yes, these are pretty good products to use, but I don't think they're going to really impact the overall performance of the bike. They're just going to keep me comfy. Now, other parts which I've got here, Aero water bottle. A slightly controversial product. Purists out there will be like, what a stupid thing, just get a round bottle. for a relatively low cost of around £30, an aero water bottle is going to help speed up the riding that you're doing, and if you're going to race, which I'm going to do on this bike, it's a pretty low cost way of trying to gain some free speed. Right, bet you weren't expecting that, were you? Right, this is brand new in the packet, look at this. Pro handlebar. So this is Shimano's sort of componentry brand for handlebar stems, saddles, that sort of stuff. And this was £30. This is what I was saying about aluminium parts being really good value for money. I've got a brand new handlebar from a reputable brand and it hasn't broken the bank. It's compact fit, 380mm wide, which is going to be a speedy boy. I'm also going to need my stem to go with that. Here's one I prepared earlier. But upgrading your bike isn't just about throwing money at it and throwing parts onto it, because a well-maintained bike that is in a standard condition is likely to perform better than a poorly maintained but upgraded bike. So at the same time, I can check the components over, things like the chain, I can give a good thorough deep clean. The pulley wheels, I can even take those apart, clean them up, clean all the bearings inside. But if you are subscribed to GCN Tech, you will have seen the Monday maintenance video I just put out. I actually featured some pulley wheels in, these little bad boys here. And they didn't fit onto my 12-speed derailleur cage, but these little speedy boys are going to fit lovely onto this one, or at least I hope so. Second time round, hopefully they fit something. Are these going to be a sort of really worthwhile upgrade that I think everyone should invest in? Maybe not, but they have only cost £12, and for that reason, they kind of feel like they fit the bill. Why do they fit the bill? Stefan, what's the fastest colour for upgrading anything?
Red.
Damn right it is. GCN Red, of course. So that actually gives me the finished list and pile of components to go onto this bike. So what I think we should do now is have a little tally up and see where the budget stands. So we're going to put that up on screen now. There you go. Which means I think we're going to draw episode 2 to a close. I'm happy with where we're at. I think progress is going good so far. The components I've got, I think I've chosen wisely, and I've invested the money for this bike build carefully in efficient parts. Now, if you would do anything differently, let me know in the comments section down below. I'm looking forward to building this bike up. That is going to be episode 3. To make sure you don't miss out, subscribe to GCN Tech, turn on your notifications. See you later.